Welcome to the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm Michelle Wright, your host and fellow traveler on this journey of self-discovery. This podcast is designed for women navigating life transitions and yearning to embrace their true selves. I'll be sharing my personal journey from navigating the complexities of divorce and blending families to reshaping my career to something that resonates with my soul. With 3 decades as a teacher and mentor, I'm here to share insights, heartfelt stories, and practical strategies. Together, we'll explore how to cultivate self-love and create the vibrant, fulfilling life you deserve. Join me each week as we dive deep into the art of living authentically. Welcome to the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm Michelle Wright, your host, and I'm so glad you're here with me. Today, I have a guest that we have seen on my podcast before, my good friend, Sharlene, down in Australia.
Hi, how you going, Michelle?
So Sharlene, if you remember, is from Australia. And last February, we were sleeping in her house.
It was excellent.
Yes, we got to have 10 days together in Australia, and I got to see all the things we chat about, where the 90-mile beach and her little caravan park. So it was so much fun.
It was excellent. It was great to show you around and let you see the beautiful part of Australia that we live in down here.
Yes, it is so beautiful. And I asked Sharlene to come back on. She loves moon phases and talking about the moon, just to look at the impact of Sharlene's going to talk to us a little bit about that. And she's made up some sheets that you're going to find are in the show notes. I'm so excited. I'm going to toss it over to you, Sharlene, and you can start telling us about the eclipses.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, we've got some interesting time coming up astrologically. There's a few eclipses coming up, and there's just some really weird energy going on. So hopefully we can give you a bit of information around that and sort of help you to sort of understand how you can navigate through, what might be coming up for you. So the first one that we've got coming up is a new moon eclipse in Aquarius, and that will happen on February the 17th. So it's not too far off. And then directly or not far after that, we'll have a full moon eclipse in Virgo on March the 3rd. So what are eclipses anyway? They're not just another lunation. They're quite a special time for us, and this is why we sort of pay attention and look at what the energies are. So I would say they're like cosmic course correctors. So if things are sort of a little bit out of whack or, they're not happening the way you want them to, just wait for the eclipses, because believe me, everything starts to change. But it's really good to be able to recognize what's going on. So when you do have these big themes that may possibly come up, you can go, okay, I get where the energy is coming from. So what is an eclipse? I guess a solar eclipse is the one that occurs during the new moon, and that usually signals quite powerful beginnings for us. So it could be fated opportunities or changes that feel quite sudden, but they're usually aligned. So the lunar eclipse occurs during the full moon, and that's typically about culmination or release and endings and things like that. And so these eclipses can bring a lot of truth to the surface, that things that you may be pushing down, and they also clear a space for lots of new growth, which is great. So energetically, I guess eclipses can feel quite intense. You can get a lot of intense emotions around them. They're like a little emotional pressure cooker, I guess. Everything gets put into the pot together, and it's a lot of pressure applied, and then something's got to burst and come out of that. They can actually speed up events quite quickly. So if you're waiting for something to happen, or you've been manifesting, or there's some events going on, they can come quite quickly. You can get a lot of revelations during a eclipse as well. So things that you were maybe wondering about can all of a sudden you'll get some clarity around that. And one of the other things it can do, like I said at the start, it can shift the path completely for us. So, you might think you're la-la-la-ing down this path and everything's smooth sailing, and then bang, you're going to come to this, fork in the path, and the other road's going to be blocked. And, you might be thinking, well, hang on a minute, I really want to go that way. And eclipses and this other energy can go, yeah, no, hang on a minute, we're heading you over here. And we've got a very good reason for it. So be aware of that sort of thing, sudden shifts in plans and things that you might have had. And there are also really good times for just surrendering, just going with the flow, just, figuring out what the energy is, not being too upset by things, following your intuition, a bit of reflection, and just trusting in what's going on. So that's basically what eclipses are.
And it's so interesting because I was listening to a podcast called Astrology Hub, and she actually had someone come on from Australia. And he was talking about, we start off this year with this initiation. So he called the eclipse initiation, a beginning of something. And I know in another astrology course that we took together, she also talked about it as karmic. There's some karmic energy that really starts to shift and happen. So if we've been doing our work, it seems like we'll just going to flow. And sometimes if we need to have a big shift and haven't moved towards our highest potential, the highest version of what we're meant to be, then there might be some course corrections.
Yeah, exactly. So if we talk about the first one, the Aquarius New Moon Eclipse, February 17, it's huge, actually. This is a big eclipse for us. Aquarius energy is all about breaking free from the norm, embracing innovation and authenticity, and it's about the future. It's really a big invitation for you to reinvent yourself. You can say to yourself, where in my life do I need a do-over? What part of my life maybe didn't turn out the way I want? And not only that, but what kind of future are you ready to choose? And just remember, eclipses aren't always gentle. Like I said, you might be nudged or shoved. Things might happen quite unexpectedly. You'll get up in the morning and think you're just going to have a quiet, calm day, and then bang, all these events are going to occur and things may go wrong. But that's the magic of eclipses. That's why we love them. There's an element of unpredictability about them. And it's something to look forward to, because if you feel like you're stuck in a bit of a rut or something like that, all sorts of things can happen. So you really want to embrace it. Don't hide in your room and go, oh, I'm not coming out until the eclipse is finished because I don't want anything to change. You want everything to change. You want there to be these big moves and things like that. And it'll bring shifts even that you've been avoiding, in areas where, you might be thinking about, buying a house. Well, if you're looking at two, one of them might disappear. It'll get sold off the market. So the choice gets taken away from you. It's that sort of thing. So, but you've got to remember, it's all going to work out for the best. That's a good thing about eclipses. There's always a good ending to everything. So a bit of the other impact that we're going to have around this first eclipse is that Saturn is actually moving into Aries. So some people say, well, what's all that about? This actually just marks the beginning of a new cycle in how we can actually take responsibility for ourselves. So it brings a bit more structure and maturity and talking about long-term focus. So it's kind of telling us to, put our big girl pants on and get out there and really make some decisions, and not just set goals, but make an action plan. How are you going to, get to those goals? What do you think you need to do to achieve them? You can't just, write down, I want to manifest this, I manifest that. What steps are you going to take to actually help yourself to get there? So it's building a new foundation. I guess that's how you can put it. So if there's areas in your life that you want to change or make different or whatever, what foundation have you put in place so that can be built upon, and and you can help yourself to get there? But you've got to be really bold about it. They have some big hairy goals that you want to get to, and say, how can I achieve this? And then you can break it down. But you've got to also, at the same time, you've got to be a little bit patient, and you've got to be a bit methodical as well. So you've got to have those plans in place.
Yes. And we had talked a little bit even before we came on air about how Saturn's coming in. It's going to be with Neptune. And we already have Pluto in Aquarius. And Pluto is that planet that really talks about transformation. And so Pluto will be saying, oh, well, what do you need to transform? What are your fears? And so some of those might come up, and we might be faced with some of those fears that invite us. It's not happening to us because that's victim consciousness. It's really getting us and helping us to explore for us. Oh, am I really still hanging on to that hang up, that fear, that challenge that I have a hard time releasing and healing from? So it'll bring it up as a way to help us as all these planets just come and they just like go tick, 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 right up beside Pluto. And they go, depending on how fast or big they're going, they go slow. And I think overall, it's just making me think astrology is like weather. So it's not something to fear. It is not something to be, oh my gosh. I think it's just knowing there's going to be a lot of weather. So for here in Canada in February, it can sometimes, especially in Alberta, it can snow, big snowstorms. Be prepared. Down in Australia, you're having summer, which means floods and fires. Be prepared. Like this is the astrological weather. It's bigger than us and we're happening within it.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. Unfortunately, there are quite a few fires down here in Australia at the moment, and we've got some 40-degree days coming up. I think there's some places that are going to have over 40 degrees for 7 or 8 days in a row. So yeah, it's not a fun time for us at the moment. But anyway, that's Australia, fire and floods. You're right about what you were saying about the Saturn-Neptune thing. I just want to touch base on that. So we know that is the planet of, it's all around planning and things like that. But Neptune, it's almost the opposite. It's all about the dreaming. But it's what we're saying, you've got to plan for your dreams. It's great to have dreams, but you've got to plan how you're going to get there. So I think we need to keep hold of that. And one of the things, like we're talking about before, a bit of a revelation that came up for me during the last few weeks is this business about becoming. And I think this is the time to do it and why it's come up. People say to us, don't be too big for your boots, or, stick to what you know and, always be who you are and be true to yourself and things like that. But I think what I've realised about that is being true to myself is actually being true to who I'm becoming. It's not about I don't want to be the same person in 5 years. I'm not the same person now that I was 5 years ago. And I think we need to just give ourselves a little bit of permission here to go, well, hang on a minute. I want to change. I want to grow. I want to be different. I want to embrace new things. I want to become somebody that I'm really happy to be around, that's joyful and that can help others, to see the light. Or, we always say you can't give from an empty cup. So it's all about, making sure we're taking care of ourselves first and then getting so excited about who we can become on the back of that. So it's about, this new moon eclipse is about future aligned intentions. So what are your intentions? Where do you want to get to in the future? But with Aquarius, you've got to think outside the box a little bit. Like I said, you might be looking at new technology or just do something a little bit different, that takes you out of your comfort zone. But also we need to take time during the eclipse, as I said before. We do need to take some time to really sit in stillness during this eclipse. So take the time out for a small ritual. You want to sit down and actually visualize that future that you desire. Like, give it some attention. It needs some love so it can grow. Feel the emotions of, what it might feel like when you get to that point, whether it's, you're not going to be so bitchy at work anymore or whatever it is. Just feel the love in that and how wonderful that's going to make you feel when you actually get to that. And people start commenting on, that you've changed in some way or whatever, and really look forward to that. Feel the emotions of it kind of already being true. You could write empowering affirmations, but after you've written them, you kind of got to let them go. So don't keep going on and on. Put it out there to the universe and then let it go. And then just trust in the divine timing. Just let it happen, organically. I think, wake up every morning and wonder what fantastic things can come into my life that I've been planning for, and what actions am I going to take today to move me towards those goals? And then we'll talk about how that sort of culminates in the full moon in the next part.
Okay. And for me, I know you have the sheet. So what's really interesting is the sheet that you've put here is it lets us know based on our rising sign where we actually have this eclipse happening. And I know for me, it's in my 7th house. So this is all about relationships. And it's putting structurings in for relationships and different relationships that are going to help me to grow and expand. And I know, one of my fears around relationships is a strong sense of belonging. I have a strong sense of self. I'm moving myself forward, and it is now belonging into different groups because that's what has transitioned over the last part. So beautiful Pluto is in here. I'm having a beautiful eclipse, and I can just see it's going to help me continue to grow. And when you say good things happen, it's recognizing that things that happen for you. So if it's a negative thing or what is perceived as bad. And what I mean, like, because sometimes I used to think of it as dualistic, meaning if it's good, I'm being a good girl. And this is so from school, so much from religion, right? It's this idea, you do good, you're going to get good. And it's not that. It's recognizing that actually what is happening for you is on both sides. Things that are challenging, things that are so exciting, and they just bring you joy and happiness. You need both of those experiences, just like we need the night and the day. We need, hungry and full, those dualistic experiences to really fully embody who we are in this life. So mine, it'll be interesting as I move through relationships. Now, how about for you? Where's yours?
Yeah, so on those sheets here, I'll just explain. So if you have a look at the first one, Aquarius eclipse houses, so to find out where the new moon eclipse is going to be activating in your life, you can look up your sun sign or your rising sign. We would prefer you use your rising sign. We just find that that's a bit more accurate on the chart. So you'll look down the sign, and for me, my rising sign is Scorpio. And if you look across, it will tell you what house. So mine is in the 4th house. And then the theme of that activation for me, similar to yours actually, is all about home, family, roots, and emotional foundations. And then if you go to the next page, it will just give you a bit more information. So if I look up Scorpio 4th house, on the next page, it says changes may arise around your home, family, or inner emotional world. So something's, possibly going on around my own personal space. And this is an ideal time, as you said, to call in new foundations or to move on from, some emotional baggage or whatever. So, and what you can hear from that is what I spoke about with the energy of the eclipse also relates to particular areas of your house. So the theme or the energies around flow into different areas of your life, depending on what house it is. So yeah, there's one for each, one for the Virgo full moon as well. And it's just the same process, and all the details are there so you can print them out and hang on to them and refer back to them. But yeah, so mine's all around home, family and roots as well, which is really good for me because yeah, we've got some, lovely things happening around here with me and my son, and yeah, things are going really well. So I'm looking forward to where that comes up for me.
Yes. And to also recognize, because it happens, is it the 17th, February 17th?
That's correct.
So some of the energy can actually be happening a bit before and a bit after. So we might not have something just on that day. And, you live across the earth, so they happen at different times and different spaces. So I think also recognizing there's almost like a window of energy that is there and things that can start to happen. I know last year, I think I had loved ones who lost jobs, moved houses. Like there were some big things and yet it is for them karmically. Like you could see it at the time. They needed a lot of love and support. So I think if the karmic movement for you is challenging, make sure you get the love and support you need and just continue to ask for it and reach out to your loved ones. And just because sometimes the shifts can be more challenging and sometimes they cannot. So now we're going to move into, because not soon after we move into the full moon.
That's correct, yeah. So we have the full moon eclipse on March 3rd. And our eclipses always come in pairs. So we've got this pair happening in February, March, and then the next one happens in August. So maybe we can come back and chat about the ones in August as well. So Virgo Full Moon Eclipse on March 3rd. This is going to be, so this is the closing part of the eclipse portal. And like you said, it can, runs 3 or 4 days either side. So you've got a good week window or more. So our full moon eclipses tend to be a lot more emotional. So when we're talking about the moon, it is a bit more about our emotions and how we feel on the inside. Full moons always tend to be a time when we let go, but this one in particular really brings up the theme of letting go in a lot of areas in your life. So you can take the opportunity to look at a lot of things. So it's looking at things that just aren't aligned for you anymore. For me, it's probably the gym membership that I've got. I never go to the gym, like get rid of it. I had good intentions when I was going to go swimming with my mother and then I never went. But my mum goes, so that's good. But, really, I could probably cancel the gym membership now because I'm probably never going to go. It's that sort of thing, It's like, just get rid of it. Just let it go, and just anything that's not really aligned with, where you're going or the dreams and the things that you're sort of talking about at the full moon. But it's particularly interesting because Virgo energy is a lot about health, routines, service to others, and clarity. So even though the sun will be in Pisces, which represents intuition and flow and surrender, this really creates a bit of a push-pull. So you've got health and routine and services, and then you've got, to just be in the flow and surrender, and you don't need to do anything. So Virgo wants you to analyze and fix everything, and Pisces just wants you to go sit back and, have a glass of wine and go, yeah, don't worry about it, just trust and release. So it's about finding the balance really here. So what we're going to be looking to doing is being quite logical and intentional about where we're moving to, but we also want to listen to our intuition and our deeper knowing. So it's a similar theme. It's like being quite methodical about, making those goals and plans, but just letting it go as well. It's like, oh, yeah, well, I've written all that down, that will be great, but, we'll leave it there and see what happens. Now, the twist to all of this, and there's always a twist with astrology, Virgo's ruling planet is actually Mercury. And Mercury at the time will be in retrograde at the time of this eclipse. So what does that do? That brings us second chances. So retrogrades is going backwards. It gives us a chance to have a go at revisiting old plans. So here we are talking about letting things go, and I can go back and revisit my gym membership and go, well, maybe it's a good idea at time, or maybe I'll just start going. Maybe now's the time for me to start going to the gym. You've got the membership, you've already done it, just go. So it gives you that opportunity to say, without feeling guilty, I can just go, all right, well, I'm rocking up next week. Or what classes can I book? So it's having to rework something that maybe didn't go as expected last time. It gives you that opportunity as well. But it's not a time for like rushing into decisions, right? Don't forget about the Pisces thing. So we don't want to rush. We don't want to, go cut things off sort of immediately. We just want to take that time to slow down, get in the Pisces energy and reflect a little bit before we take that action. But Virgo is saying, oi, hang on, you need to look at this, and this. So it's a really, when you think about it, it's a great balance. You've got, Virgo sort of showing you what you need to look at. And then Pisces is going, oh, yeah, we can make some decisions around that in the next week or so. So it's an interesting time. But we've also got a small aspect with Jupiter as well, and that's the planet of luck and expansion and all that sort of thing. So even if you are letting go of something that's a bit difficult, and it's sort of rubbing you up the wrong way and you're like, oh, I don't know, should I, shouldn't I, particularly if it's a person, you want to kick them out of your life, you had enough. You've got to understand that with Jupiter around, it means it's probably going to be for the best. So, you can just trust that what you're clearing out now is actually creating space for better things to come.
That is wonderful. Now, I didn't look. Where is my Virgo?
Let's look for you in Virgo. You are Leo, aren't you? For your rising sign. So that will be in your second house. And the second house is money, values, confidence, and personal stability. So I'll just read you what it says. So Leo, second house, your relationship with money and self-worth is under review. This eclipse encourages you to release the scarcity mindset or external validation and root into your values. Now, I'm not going to comment on that because I know Michelle quite well.
What
He knows where they're fitting in.
and what I love is it's exactly where I need to have some revamping.
Yeah. Yes.
It is so interesting, right? Being in that second house and that second house energy and looking at that scarcity mindset and really I've been working, I just did an abundance course and I've been talking about that, in different places and even on here in the podcast. And it really is holding that energy of what you're trying to create a year, like 2 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. And the only time that we actually have any powers in the right now, but what is your energy? And it's hard not to get sucked back into the old stories, the old wounds, the old scarcity mindset, the old fears, the old anxiety. And I think being human, it's like we're going to keep on going back. But I'm getting better. You know what I'm getting better at? And I'm excited about this full moon. I'm getting better at getting back into a better, more abundant mindset and not staying in the scarcity. So I will recognize, even sometimes I'll have nightmares in the morning. Like, I don't know, I have more nightmares in the morning than I do in the middle of the night. And I'll be waking up with this real funky energy. And I have to stop myself because I have to say, well, this was a dream, so it's not real. And then the feeling that comes with it. I no longer dive into these negative feelings and hold them like a warm blanket of victim consciousness around myself. And in the past, I would have. And I would have said, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to feel bad, get some chips, get some cheese, get some, whatever makes me feel good, and just dive into them. What I'm getting better at is coming down, pulling some cards, having some time to reset and say, okay, well, this might be a trigger for me. So what can I let go of? What is it showing me? And it might be that, whatever's showing you for whatever reason, might be the body, it might be whatever's happening for me. And so it's really shifting it. I know they're going to come. I'm never going to not because I'm human. I'm in this human 3D existence. I am always going to be flipping back into this. But I am getting better, Sharlene. You should see me. Exciting.
I know you are. Yeah, it is. Look, it is exciting. And I love that energy for you as well. Like I said, knowing who you are. And even across the board, for everyone, I think that story, what you've just told us, is so important for people to understand. It's not about making a clean break straight away from things. It's just like just recognizing when maybe you're a little bit out of shape, not, and I don't mean physically, I just mean, your thoughts are kind of running away with yourself. You and I know, it's a lot to do with ego, and we live in our past. So much of the thoughts that we have, the catastrophizing that we do, it's terrible, where our mind will take us sometimes. I remember when my son was little, first started driving a couple of years ago. Every night I could swear blind that he was going to die in a car accident. I was having those fears all the time. And I know every parent goes through it. And I'm using it as a pretty strong example. But our mind just does that to us all the time because it's trying to keep us safe. And it can only do it based on what we've already experienced. It doesn't know what's going to happen in the future. So it says to you, you might be thinking, I want to go for a walk. Oh, but do you really want to? Like, it might rain. So, I'd probably just stay inside if I was you. Oh, I don't think your gym gear, your leggings aren't dry yet from last week when you washed them or whatever. Like, it'll just come up with a million excuses. You lay there in bed and going, oh, yeah, you're right. I probably shouldn't go. The point I'm trying to make is being able to recognize that those are just thoughts and it's just your mind catastrophizing or coming up with excuses, or it's trying to keep you safe. You can push through it. You can just push right out of it and go, no, hang on a minute. And sometimes I talk to my brain like it's another person. I'll be like, yeah, no, we're not having that discussion today. Thank you. I've got other things to do. I'm going to go for a walk. The sun's out. It's going to be wonderful. And I'm going to see birds and I'll probably pick up a feather because that's just what happens. It's about really getting yourself in control. And I think that's fantastic when you can begin to recognize those small little areas. And these eclipses and looking at what the house is gives you a focus to do that. So it's not, big picture your whole life. And we can look at this for every full moon. It always applies in a particular house for your rising sign. And as you go through the year, you actually will go through all 12 houses. You'll have a full moon in each house. And so each month it gives you the opportunity to have a look at different parts of your life, which means at the end of the year, you've looked at everything. Everything's had the opportunity to come to the surface, and you've been able to, focus a little bit of energy towards that. This eclipse is also, the full moon one is a great time for health and well-being, as you said. It's about what habits or routines are draining me. What do I need to stop doing to support my own mental health or physical health? Are you overworking? Is it the negative self-talk we were just talking about? Lack of boundaries with other people. That one comes up a lot. You can't push back. So it's a perfect time to just gently release some of those little things and see what difference it makes moving forward.
I really appreciate you bringing this forward, because a big piece of what I'm trying to bring to the world is that we are in this sense of becoming. And as we are becoming, it is with deep self-love, deep compassion, and it's just shifting towards who we're becoming. And that often is forgiveness. And I say self-forgiveness and then forgiveness for other people because they're on the same journey. And that comes with good boundaries, because you can forgive things and then but maybe they're not in your space. And just forgive yourself. Like, the more I go out to the universe, to different modalities, the more it's really about my own heart journey, my own soul journey, and how I can enjoy and be in love every moment of every day. Like, just trying to get closer to that, recognizing, I think as a human, we're never going to get there 100%, but it is that journey. And like you say, 12 months of the year, we talked about that in the beginning, right? Every month we have this opportunity of just becoming and becoming. And I know the astrology right now, they talk about, some of the headlines are, we haven't had this astrology happening for 2026 since the last 14,000 years. Like, there's just new things occurring. And so the positive evolution that can happen for us throughout this year, as we are initiated even more into the calling of our soul, is an exciting journey.
Absolutely. I've never seen astrologers so excited to talk about astrology. There's so much in there for them, and there's lots of fantastic information out there online as well. So it is a great time. It's the year of the fire horse as well. We've got that energy going on. And I think it's going to be great if you can embrace it and, like you say, forgive yourself for those little things that, might have been going wrong, or you're not where you really want to be. But, there's some little rituals you can do too, and these sorts of things can help. For the full moon in particular, you want to focus on that release. So maybe write down a few things that you're letting go of and either burn it or bury it or whatever. It just helps get rid of that energy. It's a symbolic gesture of things that you're trying to get rid of. You can take a grounding bath or do some yoga or just simply sit in nature. That's my favorite one, is just to sit in the bush with a journal. Some journal prompts are things like, what are you holding on to that's not serving you anymore? Where can you soften? Where can I soften and trust people some more? Or just trust in not just people, but in my intuition as well. And then what outdated patterns and things are you ready to release? And just, go sit somewhere quiet in a park or whatever and just maybe journal a few things. You'll be really surprised what comes out with that when you just let your mind be free. You'll get some really cool information. So, as we go now we're going to go from Aquarius through to Virgo in this eclipse sort of arc. So where I guess the culmination of that is we're invited really to dream bigger, but be practical about it. Aquarius will give us the vision. Virgo helps us clean the path and clear the path so we can actually live it. And it's I think it's going to be an expansion of, like you said, a journey of expansion. So where are we growing? And also embodiment of, the energy and of ourselves. So It's a reminder that our future depends on the small, little intentional choices that we make every single day leads us to who we are becoming.
That is absolutely beautiful, Sharlene. Thank you for this guide. I think this guide of you've given us the information, you've told us the why, what's going on, and you've talked about the energy that we can expect and we can lean into for our highest growth. So I'm just so excited that this is an opportunity for you, me, and everyone who is listening to dig a little deeper and just to explore who they're becoming.
That's it. It's going to be an interesting time. We should all come back and talk about what happened.
Oh, I agree. And it'll be perfect. So for any of my listeners, please drop in a comment on whatever platform you're listening on. Please, you can also help me give a like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. It really helps me as a creator. Or you can hop onto my Instagram at michellewright.co and give me a DM. Let us know what is happening for you throughout these eclipses. And Sharlene, you know I'm having you back.
Happy to come back anytime.
So for everyone else, until next time, and for you, Sharlene, for all of us, keep leading with your soul and many blessings. That wraps up another episode of the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm so grateful you chose to spend this time with me. As you navigate your own life transitions, remember to be gentle with yourself and embrace the journey. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe and share it with others who might benefit. Join me next week for more insights and inspiration. Until next time, keep leading with your soul.